So this whole monk entertainment,
Yeah.
what was the idea and the vision back then?
Honestly, there was no vision. The
So it
simple.
was only you managing Ranveer, and that was the
Yeah, it was that. That's
the
it.
whole
So I was
agent
like, you
and,
know what, cool. And Ranveer was not involved in the business because he was focused on. It's a very
Content.
it's a very draining journey. Like you must know now, having a day job and also doing content is just very very difficult,
It
right?
is.
So I told him, don't worry about this. You focus on your content.
But he also had a day job.
No.
He was
I
full-time.
told him don't get involved in the business because you're
okay.
also shooting so often, right?
Correct,
And then
correct.
you're shooting for YouTube and Instagram and whatnot. LinkedIn also he was trying to run.
So that time, Monk Entertainment was just getting brands and monetizing
Yeah.
Ranveer.
Yeah,
right?
that's
That is
it.
all. Tell me, so there was a time where, and you spoke about COVID, right? There was a time when the celebrities now found it necessarily to also have their whole Instagram or YouTube because brands were not going to take them on their
Yeah.
for endorsing if they don't have. Do you manage celebrities also?
We don't manage celebrities, but we do a lot of work with celebrities. Like Farah Khan, we do a ton of work with, and she's become a brand favorite across all categories because she's cracked the code of what people want to watch on YouTube.
That
I
with her
think-
cook that she's doing.
Yeah,
the
with her
YouTube.
cook
Yeah.
Dilip, and I think a lot of the credit, of course, goes to the fact that she's been a director, so she
Awesome.
understands what the audience gets hooked by. So what she has really figured is food is what captures a big audience, but also what she does is involve celebrities. And
Right.
Bollywood
She
is
has
also
access to
equally
that.
big. So access is really important.
Yeah.
And number 3 is she's showing these people's homes.
Yes.
So you're also doing your architectural digest kind of a vibe within the same videos. So now you're seeing these fancy homes. You're seeing what these people like to eat and what they like to cook, and you're also just bringing in a lot of celebrities. Plus, you're adding her classic Farah Khan comedy and punches.
Right.
So there's like 4. These are 4 different YouTube channels, just by the way, that she's incorporated into one, and you can see it's just mass content, mass
Wow.
virality.
So you guys are helping them with brands? What
Yeah,
do you-
we work a lot with her across brands, and she's just been super. She brings in real value to the brands. As like imagine like someone was telling me that she has a deal with Vim. What she's doing is she's getting all these celebrities to clean utensils with Vim. This is
Wow,
crazy amounts of
crazy.
earned media for that
Yes,
brand,
yes.
which they would have to pay like crores for just getting those celebrities to use their product.
Yeah. And the eyeballs that celebrities are washing
Correct.
khud ka bartan, that
Correct.
must be another
That
high.
is next level. So
Yeah.
I mean that's a deal that has struck gold for both parties involved, the brand and for Farah.
Marathi digital company called Bhadipa. So tell me, what is the mission and purpose of Bhadipa? What are you all out there doing?
Okay, so there's 2 layers of Bhadipa's mission. The first is very selfish. Selfishly, as 3 young aspiring filmmakers, we were frustrated with hitting the glass ceiling of being outsiders in the Marathi film industry, and we said, people are telling us our ideas aren't going to work, it's not mainstream enough, and we just disagreed. So on that basis, we said, the best way to get our voices out there and prove people wrong that, there is an audience for the kind of stuff we want to make is to start a YouTube channel. So that was the first. We said, we'll just, develop our own following. We will test our ideas and see how it works with like the younger generation of Marathi speakers in entertainment. And that worked out really well for us. But the second thing we did was more from a larger cultural perspective. The Marathi language, there was a lot of discussion at that time that the Marathi language was sort of going out of fashion. It wasn't really cool for young people to speak in Marathi. They were preferring to speak in English or Hindi.
I think that's for all the regional languages in India currently.
Yeah, but there's quite a deep-seated fear amongst Marathi people because it shares the state with Bollywood.
Right.
And even the top talent from the Marathi industry, if they wanted to get paid their due, and if they were very talented, they would immediately be poached by the Bollywood industry to come and work over there. So there was like this drain of talent, and there was this new world
Interesting.
of international entertainment coming in with OTT platforms. People were downloading Game of Thrones and watching it. People were watching Money Heist in Spanish. People didn't seem to care about the language so long as the content was good. And so for us, what we wanted to do with Bharipa was make vernacular cool again by making young pop culture entertainment in the Marathi language, which served the Marathi language best, say like through comedy. Like Marathi is extremely good in comedy. Pula Deshpande is one of the great, literary
Yeah,
giants
absolutely.
of India.
Yeah.
Music, Lata Mangeshkar is one of them. Ajay Atul. So comedy, music, literature, theater, these are all places where Marathi thrives. But the film and television industry was and is still, relatively skewed to the older generation. And there needed to be like a new wave of younger people coming in and younger entertainment. And so Bharipa was the first Marathi YouTube channel. We eventually started and expanded into 3 channels. And thankfully now today we're not the only ones. And there's like a whole world of
You
content
inspired
creators.
a lot of
And
people, yes.
thankfully, I don't know if we inspired or just kind of showed them that it's not that hard. But it was our hope that we would be the first, but we definitely wouldn't be the last. And we would kind of create a new sort of wave of young voices in Marathi entertainment.
So the values that I had instilled in the writers or that I stood by no longer apply.
Did you
And that is
feel
something
initially
I did, of course, and it was difficult because celebrities and everyone knows me for those
Correct.
values. It's
Correct.
sparking joy, always saying only writing what you can say to someone's face, being the nice media,
Right. Authentic,
and
real.
authentic media in the sense that I never went for clickbait. I never said that we're going to write something about someone's person. I would just never do it. But I think that people do understand. But I'll tell you the funny thing also, which I think the way that media in India works is that no matter what media does, no matter how cruel they are to celebrities need them. So as much as they say,
Of
I
course.
hate that someone did this, if the pages are big enough, and I'll be very honest with you, they will still want FaceTime with those pages, no matter how they behave with them. Even though I don't subscribe to that kind of journalism, I don't even know if you call that journalism, entertainment
Yes,
journalism.
yes.
But that's just the way it is in India. And
Agree,
so
right?
many times
Yeah.
people ask me, how does it feel to be a woman entrepreneur, a woman in business? I don't know how to answer that question because I don't know what it feels like to be a man. So I can only answer as an entrepreneur. But ironically, the hilarious thing, when people ask me about dealing with sexism or the glass ceiling, I never faced any of it for 40 years. For 40 years, I didn't
lovely.
face it. And the year 2017, when I was, I think, just about in my, in my 40s, it was so crazy that 30s, I guess. I won Impact's most influential woman in media marketing and advertising. That is a very prestigious award, right? I won
Right.
number 1
Yeah.
on that. And then I was asked to speak at a conference in Goa. And it was so funny because Bhaskar Das sat on stage with me and he was supposed to interview me, right? And he said, I've always wanted to ask you 2 questions. And then he said something like, I've heard you're very expensive. Now I've heard things like, Malini charges lakhs and lakhs for a tweet. Now, so I let that go, like letting the innuendo go. And then he said,
But you wouldn't have asked any other celebrity that, right?
also this. Now wait for the second question. Then he said, okay, I've always wanted to ask you this. And I'm like, okay, now he's going to ask me something about building a personal brand or how do I feel about, putting, this is the first time somebody who's built as a digital entrepreneur won this award from Impact, and as a journalist, I can tell you, I would have had so many better questions to ask. And he said, how have you resisted the urge to have an extramarital affair with a Bollywood actor?
See?
And I just looked at his face and
You
I
didn't
said,
get
you have
up and
called
walk
me to
out?
this conference. And the irony again was I didn't. I made a joke and I said, you haven't seen my husband. But as I walked off stage, I sent a tweet. And this is when I had 2 million followers on Twitter. And I said, what a great conference. It's so sad it ended on such a sexist note.
I was at a point where I was always wondering that how long am I going to keep doing what I'm doing? And yes, you do it for fame, money, all the right kind of corporate reasons.
And you've
you
done
also-
all the tick boxes.
Yeah, all the boxes you will tick, right? But you will also realize that, there's only that much and that far that you can motivate yourself. Because when you're at the top,
Correct.
you have to keep self-motivating, right?
Right.
There isn't anybody motivating
Yeah,
you.
you're lonely at the top. as
Very
well.
lonely,
Yeah.
right? And that loneliness for me was almost for 25 years, right? And then I realized that maybe there are many other people that I can help with what I've learned. And so building out a platform which started as a women's community platform. And then, the big learning that we got out of that, much to your conversation on loneliness, right?
Yes.
Is that the biggest pain point in the communities was mental health and wellness, right? And
Right.
while people
And
are,
post-COVID, it really got amplified.
yeah, and people are very vain on social media, but that's a facade, right? But the
true.
reality is very harsh. And in safe and secure communities, they come to start talking about real issues. And when we came to monetization, we realized that the only way to monetize these platforms is not through advertising, but to be able to really do one-to-one support, right? To be able to do one-to-one counseling, consultation. And when we started to build out these modalities, we realized that, emotional wellness was a much bigger spectrum than just mental health. And so we moved into relationship coaching, tarot therapy, energy healing, all the possible ways that you could help people.
And really interesting, what you're talking about, because this is a whole new gamut of things, Tarun. The energy healing, manifestation, inner child healing. A lot of these things that I lately keep seeing and hearing, and it also comes on my feed. So, but that's a real pivot from, I remember when we met and you said Koto was all about women's safety, empowerment. And it was some personal journey, I think, is where you decided to start that, right?
And really, that safe environment allowed people to be vulnerable.
Correct.
And when we saw all the data that came into the communities, we realized that the safe environment allowed people to tell us what they really lacked, right? And what they lacked was a supportive environment. They lacked a mentor who could actually help them or talk them through in the time that they're really anxious, they're really depressed,
Right.
that, your pressure is going to really build out, right? And while the communities are great and they continue to thrive, what happens is they report a question in a community and somebody will answer, or, an expert will answer at their own time. But if you can have a one-on-one conversation at the time that you need it,
Right.
that's really the best support you can give. So that's why upon the community platform, we ended up building the video, audio, services-led, consultation framework. And then, Darshana, we realized that this problem wasn't unique to women. It is
Correct.
as much for men, right?
Correct.
So while the communities continue to be very safe and secure for women, but the consultation piece we opened up for men, and lo and behold, this only happened in January, and by March, April, the percentage of gender was 50-50 on the platform.
So that's really the fabric of India, right? Because
Correct.
men, women both need the whole emotional well-being is a big
Correct,
conversation today. But did you see any consumer behavior? Because 2018, 16, 17, 18 when it
18,
started. Because sneakers in India is still, it's niche.
Yeah.
Because I know that for my son, every time he wanted those Jordans, I've been to the Jordan store in Japan or Seoul, because those are the exclusive
Yeah.
and amazing large stores. Or, the Dubai also, I think the Nike and now it is together. It is
Yeah.
not separate as
Now
Jordan.
there is. Now there's a Jordan store in Dubai.
They have,
There
but
is.
what I saw in Japan was beautiful, big one. Seoul, again, beautiful. So that kind of, like you're saying, that exclusive thing, which has started now, from past 2-3 years, you are listening to all these streetwear sneakers and people doing. But back then, when you had that idea and you wanted, did you see any consumer trend changing and people wanting?
Yeah.
Or it was just that because you knew you all were in the business and you could make
No,
it?
of course. We were in the business, sort of gave us the massive advantage of knowing what we are doing. So basically, we knew retail really well as a family. We knew our products really well as a family. But
that was Rajasthan. You decided to do it in Bombay.
Yeah. So and that's why Nisha was very helpful to sort of garner the kind of initial buzz for the brand. I think it's all thanks to Nisha at that point in time, what she ended up doing, getting the right kind of people. But coming back to the point here, we saw a trend that before we open up in 2018, there were a couple of interesting store exclusive sneaker launches that Adidas had done in the Mumbai Linking Road store.
Yeah.
That was back in 2017. That was the first time Yeezy, which is a line that Kanye West made with Adidas, was launched in India for the first time.
And all these Gen Zs love it.
Yeah,
Oh my God, my son talks about it.
So 2017, for the first time, they had launched the Yeezy at their
Yeezys.
Adidas store on Linking Road.
Yes.
And for the first time, we saw a phenomenon happening in India, which we have heard a lot happening outside of India, which is lining up for the shoe outside a store. That was seen for the first time in 2017 at the Adidas store. So that was quite encouraging. We knew there were pockets of community and Discord groups and here and there where people were exchanging ideas and information on what is the cool sneaker that they bought recently.
It's a statement.
So there were pockets here and there. There was definitely a sneaker affinity at that point in time that was brewing up in 2018. But not necessarily according to me, and I'm a little purist here, but not necessarily according to me for the relevant reason they were brewing up. They were brewing up purely because hey, it's cool, it's trendy, and
to
that's
show
why I
it on
need
social
it.
and get the
FOMO and also flexing. These were the
young ones.
motivations for them to sort of get into sneakers. While the purists like me, we got into sneakers because we had a story attached to it. There was Michael Jordan, who we used to look up to. There was Run DMC, which is a hip hop band in the US who we used to listen to, who had a very big sneaker connection with Adidas. And that's where how people like me entered into sneakers. And so I thought rather that 2018 when we started Superkicks, that we rather pivot towards telling people, hey, you like sneakers, I get it, but let me narrate why you should like it even more. There's a story to every sneaker. And we were and through those stories and through those culture cues, we wanted to sort of push the culture to the community at that point in time.
So starting from really a traditional gold jeweler to doing a whole e-commerce D2C digital natural diamond, and now your stint what should I call 3.0 or 2.0 3.0, where you are now looking at Lucera, which is absolutely lab grown. Now you've really turned the whole conversation from natural diamonds to lab grown diamonds. So tell me, where did that come from?
So, couple of things there. While I was exiting, I was very clear that I would want to stay in the jewelry industry and would want to focus on one more segment, which was growing. I was tracking the US market very closely, and the US market picked up very well between 2018 to 2022, and the engagement rings today in US, almost like 55 to 60% of that market has started shifting towards lab grown. So I was studying the market and seeing the journey there, and I think India was the next big market for lab grown diamonds. So while I was exiting, I had even proposed Kalyan team that we should do something in lab grown, and in next 3, 4, 5 years that could become a big bet for the country. And I was exiting. I negotiated my contracts well, and I told them that I would do something in lab grown diamonds. And after taking a break, that was a clear.
Also non-conflict for.
Yeah, for them, they were in natural. I was in lab grown. And secondly, also because the gold prices were continuously going high, how do we create a category in the country now where you have right price points for the new age consumers who are going to come in? When we were operating, the gold rates always fluctuated between 20,000 to 40,000 was the range. And now, since last 2-3 years, the rates have gone from 40,000 to almost 1 lakh and even beyond 1 lakh today. So suddenly you have very less play in terms of designs if you really want to be in that price points. And customer may not get the same blink that they were getting maybe 3 years earlier in that product. So I think lab grown could be a great innovation for the market to get the same kind of bling, same kind of designs at a better pricing, so that they can wear it for the regular wear also, and maybe for larger parties they can buy few pieces, more chunky jewelry for their larger occasions.
So that coming to cool, I mean, that's another buzzword, Vedant, that today everybody wants to have a cool merchandise, and this whole generation talks about cool things. How were you, and how do you decode cool? Like, what went with you guys to creating this whole pop culture merchandise? Because I understand your passion. Where did the cool quotient come in?
Good point. I think there are two parts to this. One, the source was authentically us. So the brand stands for like these 4-5 different things. And it is us. It is. There's
So
no.
what are those things like? I like the name Sword Soul. Where did this
It's from the souls.
from? Soul?
So and because it's from the soul, we stick to that, right? Through the brand. This isn't some well thought out. This is how the brand should be. These are the pillars, etc. We realize we're going to create something which is us, and when I mean us, it's actually now a collective of the whole team, not just the founders. So everyone just pours their heart and soul into the business, and this is what gets created. And the 4-5 pillars which would be there is like number one, we're the home of pop culture because we are pop culture nerds. I think a second thing would be my version of patriotism is to be a homegrown Indian brand. So we source everything from India, and sometimes it's very hard. Like for example, the sneakers I'm wearing right now, although they're a little old, they're made in India, and it is so much harder than to get it from China, and it took us over a year and a half to get it. So we could have done it faster. But if I have to impact the ecosystem,
Right.
this is our way of doing it. The third would be give back to society. We all are animal lovers, and we run animal shelters. We keep.
I saw that you had some.
I keep now. I think there's one more now in the pipeline. That email just came yesterday. So that is our way of doing good. And then we do give to some vacation, this that, but the way what we show is the animal part because again that's us. And I think the fourth one is it's again a little bit of the patriotism. The soul store. This is a line we internally say the soul store is a global brand. We will be our stores are fit out outside India. That's where I was, and we want to create a brand that actually is aspirational at a global level. And the name, the brand, the products we sell are actually agnostic to geography.
Yes, that's
don't
what we
have a
say.
voice.
I'm sorry, I don't know if this makes sense, but I always tell people, please do not start your sentence with I'm sorry. Right? If you have an opinion, state it. We will judge in our minds whether it's good or bad. Firstly, you shouldn't judge, but I just think we always say, I'm sorry, I don't know if this is correct. I'm sorry if I don't know if I should
So
speak.
true. And
Don't do that, right?
have your
That's
voice.
a barrier because then
Correct.
people see you as a weakling.
Weekly.
If you start a sentence with I'm sorry,
Yes.
right? That's another barrier. And then I would say that we're also, in some ways, too hard on ourselves, where we say, oh, you know what? I don't think I'm going to go for that job because I don't think I have all of the qualities.
Yes, I don't
A
feel
man, on the other hand, even if he has 20% of it, will go for it like he's the perfect candidate for the job. And I don't mean to stereotype, but I think there is a hesitance that we have
Within
as
us,
women
yes.
on whether it comes back to the am I good enough?
Yes.
Am I really worth it? I think those are some of the internal barriers. And then the self-talk. It's this constant chatter in our heads. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not thin enough. I'm not
Yeah, the
smart
whole, you make that
enough.
whole ghost, big
That
self-doubt.
is very, very self-destructive. I mentor a lot of young women, and I feel that these are some of the internal barriers, the self-talk, the self-awareness, the dismissal. And then also on the flip side, the hesitancy to talk about your achievements. I think Google has done a fantastic job, Darshana, of creating this program called #IamRemarkable. And there are #IamRemarkable coaches that help you get over your hesitancy to talk about your achievements.
About your achievements.
You can't brag, but you have to make them visible.
So coming to this whole new generation, Ambi, the Gen Z, which smell out if anything is, inefficient. One of the reports said that 82% of Gen Zs, if they don't like if anything is inauthentic, because so much of content clutter, they're looking for authenticity. And we also spoke about how regional content, that's why is celebrated. People want something which is culturally true and authentic to themselves. But at the same time, large brands, who've been built over years are now suddenly trying to fit into them. They're suddenly talking language which is a Gen Z language, which is a slang, and it doesn't really relate, but they're really trying hard. Do you think then things like this work? Do you think large brands should really do something like this? Or because, how do they work with Gen Zs who are very different in their thinking and wanting?
Finally, Gen Z is also consumers. Yeah, it's not as if they'll also become old. They'll also, learn the thing. So I don't think. See, if you're see this whole thing about moment marketing, right?
Yes.
It's a kind of a disease. Everyone wants to write moment. This happened, that happened. I want to do something. You don't need to do that, right? So maybe some brands are trying too hard. Maybe you don't need to do that, right? You also need to know what is the long-term runway you're on, right? Just because Gen Z is today chasing this, will I chase that, or will I let it be?
So you have to know your consumer well. It's not that if that's not your consumer, don't go
Yeah,
there.
don't do that. I mean, you don't need to chase every Gen Z moment,
Right.
right? You're a financial services brand. You don't need to chase every Gen Z moment. But if you're a fashion brand, you may have that agility to do things which will appeal to the Gen Z. But I'm selling a luxury car. I don't need to go after them.
True.
I can avoid them, right? But things are changing. I'm sure, a lot of young people are buying luxury cars. So someone may say, no, we cannot ignore them. We have to go after them. Fine. Figure out how to do that. I don't know. I don't have an easy answer to that. It's very difficult.
Reading about you, and I said you are like the third generation in this business, and I was just connecting it with Bollywood. It's like almost a nepotism. You're a nepo kid or a nepo boy.
Right.
But I'm sure it comes with its challenges. I mean, is it very exciting that, oh wow, you're born in this family and you have everything given, or it also comes with a lot of challenge and stuff?
No, of course, it's always wonderful to be part of any legacy family. And of course, when you're part of the Kamath family, it comes with food, hospitality, comes running in your blood. People expect you to know a lot of things. I'll give you a small example. Idhar bhi aap khana khane jao to, "Arey tu manga lena na, tujhe sab pata rahega." So it starts right from there to other pressures. I think when you're part of any stoic family, whether industrial, whether hospitality, service, legal or whatever, people don't give you that much room for error to fail or to learn. So you are supposed to know everything. You cannot make your own mistakes. And I think a lot of knowledge, experience, and to really make something big, you have to make your own mistakes. Everybody has to learn to walk by falling. So I think it puts a lot of pressure on you, and some can deal, some manage to deal with the pressure, and some do well, like me. And some find their own way. So yeah, it does have its pros and cons.
But was hospitality, because you were in this family, or was it something that you also wanted to do? Because at what point did you feel that I should get out of my family shadow and start my own?
I think the difference is that I always liked the business. See, every business is very large, especially something like hospitality.
Yeah.
We have got different segments, different areas, different target markets. So I have always been very clear that I was into the mid-market space, 3 and 4 star. 5 star was never my thing. And I think I did that with my dad for a long time. But I realized that, scale, multiplication, replication, duplication, that's like my thing. And you can see I don't believe in suit and boot, and this is our standard uniform, and I'm like that, and I'm happy, and I found out rather than trying to do something which I'm not, using my specific mindset and culture, I've been able to do much more in the restaurant space and in the hotel, mid-market hotel space. So it's good.
Has sports taught you something, the lessons that you build in your
I
business?
watch sports documentaries at least 2 or 3 a month, because sports and sportsmen's mentality has so much for us to learn from. Sportsmen fail in public every day. We don't fail in public. Unless you're running a restaurant, you don't fail in public. Nobody knows, unless they check the MCA records to check your balance sheet at the end of the year, nobody knows how good or bad you're doing. Sports people have their back against the wall all the time, and they have to rise through it. Sports people know how to come from behind and win. Sports people know deeply the winner's mentality. Sports people know sportsmanship plus the winner's mentality.
Yes.
You're not going to screw someone along the way. You're just going to do your best, right? I think all of these things are so relevant for entrepreneurs and founders.
Interesting. Yeah. Do you bring that in your day-to-day?
Yeah, by the way, I think that the best way to assess someone is outside of the workplace. So I started this thing called Pickle and Pitch. I call founders to play pickleball with me and pitch their business.
And if they don't know,
Then they learn.
so they'll have to learn and come. So was Frogo in your mind? Did the germination or the germ of that idea happen when you were at Harvard Business School?
Yes, it did. And I was talking about it to few of our batchmates who were, somehow in the food industry or FMCG, and I was bouncing ideas off of them. The reason this had been in my mind was that in my entire food journey, I had seen firsthand the challenges with cold chain and temperature controlled food. There was no transparency in terms of how the food was being handled. There was no reliable, you could not just depend on the supply chain to ensure that your food was handled correctly. And
I don't think we had back then. I don't know now, but back then did we have good supply chains for frozen food? It was not so big.
Not so big.
Yeah.
So it was not a very large segment. And also there wasn't the need or the consumers did not demand the transparency. Of course, our country has been frozen food, a large segment is ice creams. And our country has always been big on, indulgence
Given
and
the
sweets
summers,
and
yes.
all of that. So that's a sizable business in the country. Yet the dependability was missing. So this was as, being in the industry, I had noticed this and I had thought about it several times. Why isn't somebody solving this? This is a, big enough and a good enough problem to solve. So that was there. And then I had done research. And one of the research papers that I read said that in the next 5 years, 30% of an urban Indian consumer's grocery basket will come from the frozen category.
Wow. That's interesting.
So
30%.
it's going to be, that's a huge number.
Yes.
If we, do the math there. However, as a consumer, I was not seeing the impact of that. I was still not getting the variety that I was looking for. I was still not getting reliable supply. All of that was missing.
Yes.
So with those thoughts in my mind, and then at HBS, wanting to solve hard problems was the inspiration, and that's how I got started.
Do you feel that, had you been part of it from beginning and seen it, or being the follower and not being the leader in that, has it really affected you, or the kind of failures that you've seen? If you can speak about that.
Yeah. So on business models, etc., I think the fact is when I started my retail, that was the disruption.
Yes.
Yeah. That was the thing that people said, we don't know why will it work. We don't know why will customer come, and we don't know why will brands like someone talking now a different language compared to the way the Kirana shoppers. So that was the disruption. So on models, not sure whether ignoring a change and not learning to ride it is dangerous, and that's not a thing we have done. Yeah. What failure, large and substantial failure that comes back to me even today, is a business decision, not so much a consumer model decision, that I created a concept, that I made it successful, that I established its immensely scalable potential, and then I didn't have the guardrails in my first venture to protect my interest and ensure that due to my naivety, somebody would not take it away. That to me is a thing that really was a big setback and learning for me. The world was also different. Today, it would be the smallest of startup founder would know how to protect her or his interest, and how the IP developed would not get taken away, etc. It's elementary. But back then, I did not even have as much as a non-compete. So that was silly. That was stupid on my part, and it's been a setback back then. But that was a long time back. One has grown and done well.
Sure. But at least yes, because today there are a lot of people for the startup guys. A lot of people. The whole ecosystem is there to tell. Where did this whole thing started? That were you as a child wanting to create this vacation homes, or where did this whole germ start?
So first of all, thank you so much for having me. I mean, it's great talking to a fellow professional from the industry, and a lot of common connects and a lot of common stories that we could share earlier. So yes, I think a lot of entrepreneurship stories start with perhaps solving a problem for themselves, and ours is no different really. As a child, I spent a lot of time holidaying in these kind of guest houses because my father worked with the Tatas, and he was an economic advisor with them. And because of that, we got access to a lot of these guest houses, either in Mahabeshwar or Mathiran or wherever. And that, the feeling was always that you have the entire property to yourself. You spend like a week. It's very relaxed. There are caretakers there who will come every day and ask my mom, ma'am, aap kya khaoge? And my mother used to feel like a queen over there. So it was
nice.
Pampering in a very different way.
True.
So that sort of stayed on. And years later, when we got married, Devin and I, my father again gifted us a stay in one of the Tata Tea guest houses in Kochi. Incidentally, that house is now on Ama Stays.
Oh, okay.
But then it was not. Then it was part of Tata Tea guest house. And we stayed there. And we kept thinking that, now that my father is retiring, we'll not have access to this anymore. Yeah. And which led us to think that, why can this not be democratized? If there are people willing to pay for this sort of an experience, why can we not create those experiences? But of course, our journeys, our professional journeys took us in very different direction. He worked with EY for 17 years. I went on to having a banking job for 10 years. And then with HSBC also for a year. But when I quit my job and I started thinking, okay, now maybe it's time to build something on our own, is when we kind of brought this idea back from the cold storage and started really working.
So tell me, did you guys now think of making into a web series? Or I remember you talking about taking content into either a big screen or OTT.
So it is happening. Yeah. We have, in fact, signed a deal with Applause Entertainment, Aditya Birla Group company, and they are going to, they have licensed the entire ACK catalog. They're working right now on the production is going on. So very soon you'll see
it on the OTT?
OTT or, on your TV. And same
More
with
power to you.
With Zebu Animation, which is a studio in Bangalore. They have licensed Wingstar and Supandi. So those shows will be coming out as well. And I just want to address this point you made about, bookstores closing down and children not reading. And I feel somewhere that's also a little bit of an urban myth that children are not reading.
Okay.
Because actually what we are seeing, number one is, let's talk of the data, right? We sell about 4 million copies in print every year. So if 4 million copies are being bought, someone is reading that. It's not being used to line the shelves. We have an almost equal number of digital readers, right? And the readership on a physical copy is 2.5x, right? Because a lot of these books go into libraries where it's read by maybe 200 children.
Correct.
Or if it goes to a home, there are siblings or there may be other people reading as well. So 2.5x is a good number of readership.
The readership.
Right? So definitely 10 to 12 million people are reading only Avanchitakatha physical books. Plus we have an equal number reading digital. And that number is growing. So the revenue is growing not just on the back of increasing prices, but on the basis of number of copies and readership growing. Parents today have an understanding of the importance of reading. Plus, they have more disposable income, and they have options. When we were kids, there were very limited options on what you could buy. Plus, it was a middle class. We didn't have that much money. Nobody had that kind of. But now parents have disposable income. So there is an understanding. Long way to go, but they are picking up books. Schools are promoting books. So I'm finding literature festivals happening in schools, individual schools. Some school in Ludhiana, some school invited us from Coimbatore. And, we're very particular about travel costs in the company. So I said, no, I mean, we wouldn't be able to send people. No, we'll pay for it. So ready to pay for flight tickets, for hotel stays, for our team to travel and conduct.
Schools are promoting a lot.
Schools are promoting a lot, and education is booming as a sector.
Yes.
So I think that reading is definitely not dead. It is difficult in the sense there is a lot of different options that as content creators we are competing with the reels, we are competing with YouTube, with all of that.
Yeah,
but
who would have thought of that? Huh?
Yeah, but it's a challenge, but it is growing.
People do realize, people do want to help. There are so many generous people. Darshana, I run something called Chai for Cancer.
But I was going to come for that, Tony, that, how did you really bring in such an interesting, I think it's a marketeer in you, because this is a chai for cancer, very common thing.
Thank you for saying that, because at one time I wanted to be in advertising. I told when I was growing up, I wanted to be first an air hostess. I wanted to be a radio announcer. I wanted to be a TV newsreader. I wanted to be I wanted to do the IAS. Then I wanted to be in advertising. Kuch nahi hua. But look, today, I'm so glad you said that. So Chai for Cancer, I'm having chai. I'm a great chai person. I think I'm the only South Indian who doesn't drink coffee and drinks chai.
No filter coffee.
I make the best filter coffee. My husband, I think he married me because I make the best filter coffee. But to come back to this, chai is something that is so normal, that is so ordinary. You can have it at any time of day. You can have it with anybody. You can have it alone. You can have it 40 times a day. Chai, and my chai you can have all the time. It's black. Actually, it's brown. No sugar, no milk, nothing. But chai का माहौल जो है वो it's of belonging, of warmth, एक अपनापन.
Nice.
It's cool. It's casual. And I wanted to bring cancer into that because we're frightened of cancer. There is stigma.
Yes.
There is isolation. There is discrimination, both in the family and in the workplace. There is fear of the unknown. You face your own mortality and financial worries. It destroys a family. I'm saying it today in a public forum. It destroys a family.
100%.
Emotionally, financially, physically, everything, Ab chai ko, if I bring it into this mahal, where over a cup of chai, look at us, you and I, we're talking about cancer.
Correct. No, absolutely. Yeah.
And I said, if I can bring it to that and talk about cancer. People don't talk about cancer.
Yes.
Cancer is some hush word.
Well, I've seen people, right? So because I also was working for a health insurance, so jinko hua hai, they don't want to go back and talk about that memories, family, and plus ये जो taboo आप बोल रहे हैं, people feel कि अरे बोलने से हो जाएगा जैसे, it might just come back again.
करने से हो जाएगा, किसी को पता चल गया कि मेरे घर में कैंसर तो बेटी के लिए कोई रिश्ता नहीं आएगा. Oh, there's so many things to do with cancer. And then I said, let's do this. Let's do an adda. मैं अपने घर में I'm going to call everybody and say चाय के साथ whatever. Jalebi, samosa, biryani, cookies, cake, biscuit, whatever. And let's all just get together. And also, Darshana, we have stopped calling people home. Chalo, wahan jaake khate hain, yahan jaake peete hain. It's become like it's become more trendy to meet somewhere else. So I said, let's bring back this whole beautiful tradition we have of calling people over to our house and offer them chai and whatever goes with chai. It can be like a morning 1 hour, afternoon 1 hour. Mere ghar mein, the first adda that I held 12 years ago, second Sunday of May is Chai for Cancer Day. And this year, 2025, will be the 12th season of Chai for Cancer.
12th season.
I said, let's call people over, let's talk, let's sing, kuch bhi karo. But sharing your experience, talking about cancer, listening to people about their experiences, and doctors come to my addas. They talk about cancer in a manner that is so non-threatening,
Yes.
Dekho, we are afraid of cancer. People call it like a battle. I don't call it a battle. I call it a crusade. It's a long term. It's a sustained campaign to understand cancer. And when you do that, when you when you bring it from that some kahan pe kahin डरा हुआ सा
You
है.
take the whole agony, the whole time, all
you
that
have
out
to
of
equip
it.
yourself. You have to equip yourself with the weapon, and the only weapon is awareness, knowledge.
True.
And then at the end of the adda, after I've spoken, after you have spoken, after so many people have shared, I tell everybody, what was the value of this cup of chai to you today? Why don't you just put that money down as a donation to patients who are in need? One cup of chai is worth 100 rupees, 100 rupees, 500 rupees, 500 rupees. In these 11 years, I've raised more than 5 crores.
Wonderful, Vijay.
Only through a cup of chai. 5 crores sounds a lot, but you know what? It's not enough.
It's not enough.
It's not enough.
It's not enough. Now coming to, whilst there's a lot of buzz around AI and everybody wants to get into the bandwagon, there is also fear, like, this Netflix movie called Control, how AI can go wrong. And we've heard so many stories and literally AI giving in a wrong sentiment, doing something wrong. So it can become, so there is fear. There's phobia that can my data be, misused, and, there's a whole deep fake and a lot of things happening. So now in this entire chaos, how would you advise, what should the users be really careful about and be aware?
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. Before I give the advice, I do want to prove what you just said with 2 data points, right? One, I was reading this article where it talks about the Google trends, and usually you would see people using Google between 10 to 7, which is your usual working hours. Now, the usage of ChatGPT in India has mostly been between 10 to 6. What that tells us in an assumption analytics preview, that people are maybe using GPT instead of Google now for work.
Correct.
All of us are not realizing. Yeah, but all of us are not realizing that today, if we're using AI for work, and if you're using a free AI, usually the price that you're paying with is your data. So that is the first problem, that people don't realize where your data is being leaked, where your data has been given. Because one, if you know about it and you are probably working in that direction, it still works. But I don't think people are using the enterprise plan on GPT. Everyone's using the free version.
Free, of course.
The moment you do that, you're paying with your data. Second, when you talk about people being confused about AI, where to use, where not to use, I think it's a big problem today, right? We also did a very fun exercise in the company where a team was given the same task, and we divided the teams into 2. Same task, same time. You would assume that if one team has been given AI to work with and one only humans, the AI ones will naturally win, but that didn't happen. Simple reason being, the AI team was so overwhelmed with like hundreds of tools, and the human team was so sure about, okay, step 1, human A will work, human B will do step 2. So I think the problem that we usually face is people not realizing where the data is going, people not realizing which AI is trained on what, because the moment you know that, you know which tool to use for what work of yours. And third, people not realizing the capabilities of AI today, which is where the problems of AI scams, deepfakes, etc. are coming. For that, of course, the main thing is education, especially for tier 2 and tier 3 India, where I think people now need to be educated about how do you probably find that one thing that can tell you that it's AI generated. Of course, we're moving in a direction where it's becoming very, very difficult to tell because things have become so identical, your original image and AI images. But I think there are still ways for you to tell. But of course, education on this and education on the fact that your data is going somewhere, I think that's very, very important.